Hello, everyone. Welcome to Daily Devotions. So I missed Monday. I apologize. You'll be joining me today on Tuesday, and it's nice to see you and be together. So we're going to be talking about Mark chapter 9, and it was the text for this weekend, but I wanted to open up a few different pieces of it so that we could start thinking a little bit. You kind of got to, if you want to delve into Mark deeper, read the whole thing or read just the chapters around chapter 9 and pay attention to specifically like in Mark chapter 8 today, Jesus foretelling his death and resurrection, some of the things going on around that as it'll make more sense or it will help this part of the chapter make more sense. So today we're at Mark chapter 9. And if you go with me to the 30th verse, they went on from there and passed through Galilee. He did not want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, the Son of Man is to be betrayed into human hands, and they will kill him. And 3 days after being killed, he will rise again. But they did not understand what he was saying, and they were afraid to ask him. Then they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, what were you arguing about on the way? But they were silent, for on the way they had argued with one another who was the greatest. And I'm just going to stop right there for today. You can keep reading if you want to. We'll explore the rest of the chapter this week. But so we have this element in the story going on of the text says, if you look at your heading in your text, my Bible says Jesus foretells his death and resurrection. Now that wasn't in the original text. We added that to try to make sense of what's going on here. But I don't look at this so much as a prediction or a foretelling. It is fine, but I'm looking at it more in terms of Jesus trying to teach the disciples who is the Messiah. What does that mean? What does he mean? Because it's a different question for them. If you remember back a couple chapters in Mark, and you can go look specifically, you can go back into Mark chapter 8, verse 31, when he's trying to talk about who people say that he is. I'm sorry, that's not right there. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's trying to get people, who do people say that I am? Who do you say that I am? And then the rest of this becomes a teaching about, I'm sorry, it wasn't 31, it was 27. About who the disciples say he is, and then Jesus is teaching them who he really is. And what he's getting at here is that the Messiah, whatever the Messiah is, it's somebody who cannot and does not work like the ways of the world. He does not and will not work like the ways of the world. And so the power that the world wields will not be the power that the Messiah wields. The power and the relationships that the world has and lives by will not be the same relationships that the Messiah lives by. He's reversing everything. The values of the world will not be the values of the Messiah and how the Messiah works. And you see that lived out then in the disciples' life by arguing about who's the greatest. They're still living in that world way of understanding greatness, that world way of understanding values, the world's way of understanding power. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, what power looks like in this text, because that's really what Jesus is reversing. And so he's saying that as he is the Messiah, what's going to happen is he's going to be betrayed into human hands, and the human powers of the world are going to be able to do what they want with him and to him, and he's not going to be able to do anything about it. Now, what makes it profound is that he can do something about it, or could, but doesn't, out of love, so that we can see that in the end, love wins, that death doesn't have the last word, that the systems of the world aren't actually going to win and don't actually have real power, because they're all going to die as well. And then that becomes the promise for you. that the ways of this world that are keeping you down, the ways of this world that are pulling you apart, the ways of the world that are destroying the world itself. I mean, look at us, how we're living these days, how we're relating to each other, and how we're loving each other from a societal standpoint is completely out of whack with what Jesus would have us do. And so then this becomes a promise. But what you have to ask yourself then is, why were they afraid to ask him about it? And that's what I'd like to leave us with today is, why are they afraid to ask him about it, for what that means for them? And we'll talk more about that along with power tomorrow and into the rest of the week. But for now, just think about how Jesus is reversing the ways of the world, and how that's a promise for you that whatever's keeping you down won't keep you down forever. Whatever's limiting the wholeness of your life is being healed by Jesus, and being worked on by your Lord as this world moves towards God's kingdom. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.